house music all day long.
Let's do it, man. So, welcome, Rich Earnshaw, to the House Finesse podcast. Absolute pleasure to have you along, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
I hope so, and hopefully you'll enjoy this as much as I will. I know Taiwo, one of our resident DJs, reached out to you to say, hey, would you like to come along and chat to us? And thankfully you said yes. So here we are, and it's a great pleasure to have you along. Just for the nature of the listeners, I'm sure they know your name, but could you just give a little bit of who you are and what you've been up to more recently, I guess?
Gosh, well, obviously my name is Richard Earnshaw, musician, producer, DJ for a very long time. I guess as soon as I finished my music degree in 1996, I kind of thought, I'm just going to give this a bash, see what happens. So since then, really, as a professional, we use that in inverted commas. I'm sure it wasn't particularly professional when I first started. But yeah, I am just a straight up, classically trained musician, loved electronic music, went to jazz, did my music degree, was very curious with the whole DJ culture when I was a teenager. And it was when I first signed to Sulfuric in sort of 2000, 2001, when I was already DJing a little bit by then, for a couple of years or so. But that was really the first time that I thought, I think I probably should take the DJ thing a little bit more seriously, on advice from Brian Tappert, actually. So I did, and yeah, it's been a cracking 25 years, really. So far, lots of records made.
30 years in music and 25 years DJing.
It's been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed, exploring different styles as well. There's a lot of stuff that I work on, outside of the sort of the Richard Earnshaw box. Some of you may know the Spirit Chaser material. Then there's Inner Spirit as well, which I suppose is a bit more Afro house. And there's just, honestly, I could rattle on for hours, lots of little pseudonyms of things, working on music for TV and, doing advertising campaigns, and haven't quite got into the film market just yet. Hoping to do that one day.
Okay, so aspirations to get into movies in Hollywood.
There's a lot going on, a lot going on, and long may that continue as well.
Well, let's hope so, because the Earnshaw brand and sound has been going for a while, and we love it. Especially on
good. I'm glad nobody's bored of it yet.
Not yet. I'll let you know if it does, but hopefully not.
Oh, yeah, please do.
But it's interesting how you go, like you say, 30 years in the industry and 25 DJing. You must have seen some changes over those times. What do you think stood out for you the most?
Well, I mean, I've seen all the changes, really. I started out in an industry and an environment and a landscape where there was no social media. Everything was vinyl based, certainly from the DJ market and So I've seen piracy, I've seen downloads and iTunes, social media come along. Streaming, everything. It's been a dramatic sort of 20 something years, really, in terms of how we consume music, how we promote music, how we buy everything, absolutely everything. But I've always been very open to all those changes. I've never really moaned too much about it. I mean, sure, it's a little bit disheartening when you see your streaming revenues and you think, all these people listening to my music, but I'm not really getting in what I feel is, a reasonable return on it. But then at the same time, there's a lot of people listening to my music that wouldn't be listening to my music otherwise. So, there's always a flip side.
And I agree with you. I think I've been similar to your journey to you, like time-wise, but nowhere near as professional, let's be frank. But I've tried to jump on the bandwagon where it's possible. So like podcasting, right, let's play with this and see what it does. And then, okay, streaming, what's happening there, and social media, how can we use this, not abuse it? But I do agree that I like the resurgence of vinyl more recently. How do you feel about that?
I think it's brilliant. I think, you've obviously got the collectors and you've got the older generation that perhaps have been waiting for this moment to legitimize their sort of their collecting of vinyl. But I find that there are a lot of people I speak to, it's the younger crowd that are literally buying into the way that you having been able to actually physically acquire and hold music and play music, as opposed to just staring at the black screen of the phone and then it just appearing. I was actually talking to someone very recently. We were talking about all the different formats, vinyl, CD, but in particular with vinyl, the one thing that always struck me that has been missing for so long is anticipation. It's that moment you put that needle on the record, and then there are some seconds, you don't know how many there will be, maybe just a couple, 3 maybe, but it's just that time that you're waiting, and then the music starts. And it's such a wonderful thing. Everything has been so on demand for so long. You go, even with CDs, you press play, bang, the track started, away you go.
It's on. Yeah.
And obviously with streaming, you just click on the whatever track you want to listen to, and it starts immediately. But there's that anticipation, which I've always loved about playing music off vinyl. And I'm not talking about just being a DJ here. I'm talking about just listening to music off vinyl.
Consumer. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's such a wonderful thing, and I think that's possibly what's attracting the numbers now. It's a change, and people like change, don't they? People like to be either different or they like to change. And there's been such a huge focus on streaming as the means of consuming music for so long that I guess people are just like, oh, let's just try something different for a change. Whereas I suppose
I heard in
for
the
me,
news recently that music consumption and sales have gone actually increased in the last year. I know they're putting it down to one, streaming, unfortunately, but also the vinyl surge. And it's I think the younger market and younger demographic are actually tapping into it and going, oh yeah, holding music, a story on a piece of record, and someone's actually put a story behind all this. It's
I mean, you could argue that maybe some of them just think it's cool. But it doesn't matter, does it?
Probably.
If they think it's cool and they want to listen to it because it's cool, because they could get their dad's old record player out the attic and all this kind of stuff. But, it's maybe they'll get back to it. Well, maybe not go back to it, but maybe introduce into their 21st century, online lifestyles, listening, having their mates around and just listening to music like we used to. Your mate would call you up. Your mum would say, so-and-so's on the phone, and you go down to the one phone that you had in the hallway, and he would say, yeah, I've just had the US import for the new Depeche Mode album. Do you want to come around and listen to it? I'm like, yeah. And then you just go around there, and then their mum would make you cups of tea and snacks, and you just listen to it once, listen to it again. You'd spend 3 or 4 hours. You just listen to the record. I asked my son recently, my eldest, he's 15. I asked him if he'd ever listened to an album from start to finish. And he said no.
Oh,
he's never listened to an album.
How'd that make you feel as a musician and producer?
It made me feel sad for him, actually.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, I just felt sad for him that he had yet to experience what it feels like to hear someone's story from start to finish. But there are so many factors involved. The patience element obviously is very different now. I hear him, flicking through tracks on Spotify. And he'll listen to 30 seconds, a minute, and then he's on to the next one. I'm like, just let it play.
If that. Exactly.
Just let it play.
Even like the 5 seconds, it's like then Spotify don't even class that as a play. You've got to make sure that.
No,
patience element.
But I can't be. It's just the fact that he was born into a society where these things existed.
Yeah.
He doesn't know any different.
Agreed.
I do try to kind of encourage a little bit of variety, to the point I'm actually thinking about. I do have some whopper 90s hi-fi separates in the attic, and some very lovely B&W speakers, hi-fi. And I thought, how do I put these in the front room without them being too obvious, if that makes sense? Back in the old days, the whole way you laid out your living room was centered around your hi-fi. Hi-fi first,
exactly, the speaker system,
everything else,
and the TV next.
Yeah, so I need to think about how I can do that. But I'd love to be able to just sit down with them and say, right, for the next hour, this is what we're going to do. We're going to listen to this record from start to finish,
back to back,
whether you like it or not.
Exactly. Actually, I'm quite proud of my lad.
Oh, good. Does he do the same?
He's getting there. He bought himself a CD player last year and started buying CDs secondhand or boutique shops. He likes to listen to albums all the way through and feeling the media. And he appreciates all my vinyl collection. He's like, oh, let's have a look, Dad. I'm like, good lad, get in there. And
Excellent.
my daughter, similar. She's like flipping through, going, "Oh, Dad, can I play some cheesy pop?" I went, of course, it's on a record. Play it.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I've not quite got there yet, so I'm going to try and encourage a
It'll
bit of that.
come.
And even just sitting down and reading the sleeve notes, you know.
Oh, I missed that. Even singing the lyrics that were plastered in the taped
I know.
set box.
I know. It's all the simple little pleasures of listening to music.
I know. What do you think about the tune length nowadays as well? Because I think you talk about attention deficits and like the short time spans. You know, we used to have 10-minute acoustics, and then now they're going to 2-minute blasts, aren't they?
My honest answer is I don't care. If people
Okay.
want to make records that are 2.5 minutes long, then you crack on. You have a lovely time doing it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, music is as long as it needs to be. And whether what you're trying to say with that piece of music or that song rolls in at 2.5, 3 minutes, if that's how it naturally concludes, great. If it wants to go on for 4 or 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, then perfect. You know, it's as long as it needs to be. I never have and I never will compromise what I'm trying to say with a piece of music that I'm making for the sake of it being a certain length, because people might not listen to it otherwise. Well, don't listen to it then. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's fair. Do you think like the shift from radio broadcast, linear broadcasting to on demand has had an impact on that somehow?
I mean, the radio edit has always been, you know, that sort of somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes.
If that.
Now we are down. You know, it's the streaming. It's streaming that has kind of changed the focus on track length. It was not been radio. I mean, radio has probably kind of followed suit in a way. You know, it's kind of bish bash bosh. There you go, done. Show done. We've played 58 million records in the last hour. Great. But did anybody remember any of them? No, probably not. So I do my very best to try and not be too distracted by what people think should be done, what their expectations are, because they're not my expectations.
No.
You know, I make music, I'd say, however long or short it is, then it is exactly it's as long as it's meant to be, basically. You know, and if it's too long for radio, well, do you know, if there's a way to somehow streamline it a little bit so it's more appealing to be played on radio, then of course, you know, we all do radio edits of our records. But some records aren't meant to be radio edits. They're just not meant to be that. You know, there's many things that I've been working on over the years, certainly with the Spirit Chaser stuff. It's evolving music. The whole point of the record is to engage with it for the full length of what we're doing with it. But to try and shorten it, it just ruins everything. And so
it does compromise quality, doesn't it?
I don't know. It's a contentious thing because, you know, from a business perspective, of course, we want our stuff being played all over radio and being on all the playlists. But as a creative, why should I have to change what I'm trying to do?
No.
Because somebody says, "Oh, this has got to be 2.5 minutes long." No, it doesn't.
There was the biopic about Queen, wasn't there, and Eddie Mercury, and how they were like, "It's too long with Bohemian Rhapsody," and they went, "That's what it is. You don't want to make it any shorter."
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think there's far too much. What ends up happening is we end up with literally thousands and thousands and thousands of records being put out a week, all of them 2.5 minutes long, and all of them completely forgettable.
Yep.
You know, that's not a healthy position for music to be in at all. No. You know, why is it that, you know, we see a lot of social media and a lot of events, DJs playing, you know, and all they ever seem to do is play the old records, the classics, because they get the reactions. It looks great on their Instagram or whatever. You know, I get it. I totally get it. Of course I do. Yeah. But where's the support for people trying to make the next classics? They're too busy making 2.5 minute records, you know. And I think that's one of the things I really want to see this year is more support for people that are prepared to just allow the music to unfold how it's supposed to. You know, allow writers and collaborate with songwriters, collaborate with top line writers and singers, get everybody in the room again. The whole kind of splice culture of sitting behind your laptop in a coffee shop making a 2.5 minute tech house record and upload, done, great, I'll get a gig. Woo!
Shipped it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And no one remembers it.
if you want to carry on with that, great. You if that's what fills your boots, who am I to argue otherwise? But it's being distracted by that is something that I've certainly been as I've got older. I've very much, people ask me these sorts of questions all the time. What do you think about? It's like, I don't really think about it. I'm just busy doing my own
Try
thing.
not to.
I'm just doing my own thing, and and I'm happy doing that.
Fair. So on that, what are you up to at the moment? What's your current project and focus?
Well, we released a Spirit Chaser album last year called Always for Love, and we unconventionally we didn't put a marketing plan together for it. The album was ready, and we thought, everyone goes, oh, you've got to release 7 or 8 tracks off the album to have a waterfall effect and da 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 da. And I was like, let's just put the album out there, just let people hear it. Let's just let it just sort of, we were in no rush. We didn't have anyone breathing down our necks saying, oh, it's got to do this. We'll terminate your record deal if it doesn't do this or doesn't perform that. We put it out and it's done really well. We've released maybe 3 or 4 singles, including mixes so far, and we're just going to keep chipping away at it over the next year.
Nice.
Just let it kind of grow and grow and grow and grow.
Yep.
It's our expectations are that if one person listens to it and it connects with that one person, then that's brilliant. It's that it all starts with that one person.
Absolutely.
And to grow it slowly but surely is with the way we prefer to do things, that's for sure. So this year we'll be doing more work from the album, probably starting work on the next album as well.
Spirit Chaser still.
Yes. And then I've got a new Earnshaw album that I'm working on.
Ooh. Okay.
And I've basically, at last count, I had 97 ongoing projects on my hard drive. And so amongst all that, there is an Earnshaw album. There is an Inner Spirit album. There's a whole host of stuff, which I don't even know what to call it yet. And I think, my New Year's resolution was to just really enjoy the process of making music. And it's the same resolution I have every year. But again, I'm a human being. Of course, we get distracted. Why is nobody engaging with this? Or why? But, every year I come into the new year and I think, right, I need to just forget about all that. I've occasionally I've even thought, you know what, I'm just coming off all social media. It's what is it to me? It's I'm not doing what I'm doing or being, a visible producer, musician, DJ, or whatever because of social media. I was doing it way before Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg had an idea to, sort of change the whole landscape of that. Sure, there are benefits to it, of course, but I do sometimes find myself becoming too bothered by it. Yeah. The irony is that people are going to use social media to listen to this and watch this, which is great. So don't, honestly, I'm not poo-pooing the whole thing, but I think, when you're making music, it's making sure that my motivation and passion for it is aligned, rather than thinking, oh, if I make a record like this, I will be able to sign it to that label and I'll get a gig. It's never really been something I've done. And I just always remind myself that I won't do that. I make music, it goes where it goes. People who listen to it. Whatever happens, if I have the opportunity to go out and perform it, great.
That's fair. And I think sticking to your core roots there as well. You got into music because you loved it. You went through the classic education, you got into the profession, you found your niche, and you stuck to your guns over those last 20, 30 years now. So why change?
Well, I mean, you could argue that maybe it is time to change, but I think that to have a healthy relationship with what I'm doing musically, I need to be able to kind of look at both of those things. I need to respect the history and the foundation of what I've done and how I've done it. And at the same time, keep an eye on how things are now. That's why, again, I've never really kind of sort of poo-pooed streaming. It came along. Did it solve piracy? Probably. Do we get paid enough for what we do? No. Is Daniel Ek one of those sort of tech billionaires who's just completely mugging everyone off, probably. But I've connected with a lot more listeners and built a community of people that listen to the music through that platform. And so I'm very grateful for that. More people are able to listen to what I'm doing. So, I'm 50 years old this year, but I'm still very, the next new technology like AI, for example, what's AI going to do? I don't know. Am I concerned? Not really. Is it going to be interesting to see how it integrates with the creative process? Yeah, definitely. I have tinkered with it. I have, with a particular record, I used some source audio of someone, and I put it into a generator, an AI generator, and I created a whole new song using their vocal, and it sounded exactly the same. And
scarily,
very scary. I wouldn't use it. I'm not. I did it as an experiment. I wanted to know just how good is it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm thinking, cool, as a tool, if I'm working on something and I'm not yet ready to pull the trigger on paying a lot of money to have a singer or to go to wherever on the other side of the world to record with a singer, if I think I need to know how it's going to sound really quickly, right in the next 10 minutes, off I go. Clone, Bosch, yeah, the tone works. I'm sure we can make this, it's for things like that to kind of
streamline your process a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think so. It's obviously there are so many things to think about. Like obviously, using other people's audio to clone themselves. There's copyright issues and all that kind of stuff.
Kind of worms.
As a tool in the studio environment, I think it's going to be quite interesting. I have used some AI mastering stuff, and that's a no from me. I do all my own mastering anyway, and I do a lot of mastering for other people. And no, the AI thing's not working. No,
they're not got it right yet. I've played with a few of these as well. I just find that the quality is, you can tell it's different. It's not ready. It's not up to par yet.
No, you need human ears.
Exactly, and the human ear to kind of go what works and doesn't. Computers can't do that, I don't think.
They're just working on an algorithm, aren't they? The trouble is the algorithms can only it's every track is different. Frequencies, gain, everything is so different. I just don't think that it's just not quite. Yeah, it's just not. Doesn't have that kind of that connection, the warmth.
Yeah, exactly.
The human nature of it. Yeah,
totally. Just changing tangent a little bit. Have you got any sort of inspiration that's doing the industry at the moment? Like any people that you're thinking are up and coming that you'd be a good act to maybe follow or collaborate with?
Oh gosh, I mean, there are so many hugely talented people out there.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but I'm curious.
You have massively put me on the spot. The thing is, I'd hate to kind of just pluck out some names. There are some obvious names within kind of the soulful house environment that have been doing it a very, very long time, who I have a huge amount of respect for, and I'm always excited to hear what they do. Like at Jazz, for example, I've always had a tremendous excitement for when he releases music. We have very similar backgrounds. He started off making music for computer games, and he's got a huge depth of knowledge of synthesis and engineering and all sorts. So we share the same hairbrush. Although he'd probably argue that because I've got more hair than he has, but and he's just a lovely human being. Who else have we got? Crackers Out again, very, very talented guy. Rasmus Faber, old friend, hugely talented. Great to see Brian Tappert back in the saddle making music again. I really hope that Mark joins him and John as well, and we get to hear some more jazz and groove, more jazz and groove and Kleptomaniac stuff. Urban Blues Project would be nice. Obviously, Masters of Work, they were a very solid inspiration for me for a long time. Gosh, I mean, how many more names? There are so many. I love listening to everything and all the all the up and coming producers. I feel for them in a way because there's so much noise out there, and I often miss tracks from people purely because of the amount of stuff that's coming out, and I get a little bit kind of sad at the fact that there's some amazing music out there that I've not heard yet. But I guess that comes down to having the time to
Yeah,
properly get digging for music. Don't get me wrong, the charts and all these platforms are very useful kind of, it's guidance. But if you really want to find the nuggets, I think you've got to really get into it. You've got to get proper deep
go
into
deep.
the hole, definitely.
Lock me in HMV for an afternoon and I'll pull out a record I'm really happy with.
Yeah. No, I mean, crikey. I mean, how many record shop, missions where you'd spend hours going through scores and scores of records and then you just buy one.
Yeah. You will it down from a pile of 10 and listen again.
And that often wasn't because the other records weren't worth buying. It's just that you only had like 20 quid.
Exactly.
It was a tight week and you thought, shit, I've got 20 quid and I can either buy 2 records. Oh, I could get 1 US import. Oh, and I really like the B-side dub. And you just had to make those decisions.
Tough times, man.
They were
and
good
now
times.
It's just the instant Spotify, that one, play the next one, got it.
Yeah, I mean, how much music have you come across that you probably would never have come across had Spotify not said, "Oh, you might like this"? I've listened to so much music.
Occasionally, yeah, I'm more into track source and Beatports and browsing their new releases and seeing what's coming through because at least I don't know it's not biased as much.
Well, I suppose there is bias everywhere, isn't there? Because somebody is making the decision of what they show you on the platform.
Totally.
But are they the modern day version of the person that was behind the desk in the record shop that go, "Hey, Rich, nice to see you. Here's a stack. This is what I've chosen. I think you'll like." It's no different
from human traffic. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly. But I think just it would be nice to spend some more time. I spend quite a lot of time looking for music for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But I do often feel that I'm not spending enough time.
Totally agree.
I think if I could just maybe increase that a little bit this year, I'd be much happier. Unfortunately, where I live, which is lovely, but middle of nowhere by the sea, there's not much in the way of record shopping. So I think, spending a bit more time up in London, which is where I'm from anyway, and, sort of getting into the vinyl shops a little bit more, because often that's where a lot of the gems are, stuff that's not digital. So yeah, that's definitely for this year. It's making music unapologetically, spend more time listening to music with my children, and spend more time looking for music as well. I think that's pretty much a summary of how I would like to see this year.
Listening to music, enjoying it with the kids, and making more.
Yeah, making more.
Well,
and finding those little bits and bobs, that you just think it's original music. I'm talking about as well. There's a lot of edits out there, and I'm a little bit tired of them all now. To be honest, if I'm, I've heard them all before at least 4 or 5 times. I've got vinyl here of edits done, and then the people are releasing the same edit again. It's like under a different name, different artist, different labels. So I've got it on 2 different white labels from 2001.
Pieces of black plastic. I'm happy with these already. I've got don't anymore.
Yeah. So it's just really, really want to, as a person that makes original music, I want to support more artists and songwriters and producers that are putting the energy and the time and the money into creating original records. That's what we want for our record labels and, with our publishing. And so I will, as a DJ, be being a lot more sort of focused on that rather than the sort of easy get out of jail edits.
I like your thinking, fella. It sounds right on my street. Been great having a good deep conversation. I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you. We're going to try.
Go for it.
And see how these go. So, first one, what was the first record you purchased?
Vinyl record?
Let's go vinyl, yeah.
Okay. It was the Star Wars soundtrack on triple LP. I bought it for 10p at a car boot sale when I was probably about 11. And I still have it. I still have it as well. I've still got it in the. I actually looked on eBay the other day for a laugh, and they're selling for quite a lot of money now. And I thought, no, it's not for sale. It's just that is the first record I ever bought.
Love it.
I couldn't tell you which first hat record I ever bought because it was probably a white label, and one of those sort of from under the counter. There you go, Rich.
Nice. What's your best track of 2024? Either your own or someone else's?
Blimey, that's a good one. It's a really, really difficult question to answer.
It's all right. Might be the one you play the most, or the one you love playing every time.
Well, I suppose it's different because, I mean, often, things I like to listen to don't always translate into what I play, or
Fair.
what I play on the radio, for example, as well. Often the stuff that I play on radio,
Yeah.
I don't play when I'm playing out, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's fine. Should phones be banned on the dance floor?
I think that what needs to happen is, firstly, we need to understand the types of DJ there are. You have the DJ,
Yep.
and then you have the entertainer.
Okay.
Rather than ban phones off the dance floor, just don't give them anything to film. In the nightclubs, put the DJ back in the corner, dim the lights. Who's going to take video of that? Nobody. It'll just be a pitch black video. So I think
Perfect.
that the focus is on the wrong area. If people want to, if they want to take their phones on the dance floor and they want to wave it around and take videos that they're never going to watch again, do you know what? Then so be it. But it's only because the situation is giving them something worth filming. Now, if you're going to go and see a DJ who is sort of leaning more on sort of the entertainment side of things, where it's all about the show, the lighting and the production, sure, take a video, take a picture. That's what you're there for. It's a whole different experience. It's a very, very different thing. So, again, I think if clubs want to encourage people to not use their phone on the dance floor, then yeah, I think that's a brilliant thing. People need to engage with the music more, and I know a lot of nightclubs are. I'm all for it. Whether to ban it or just encourage, because people are such sheep, aren't they? Let's be honest. If people are not using their phone on the dance floor, but it's not banned, the chances are if somebody pulls their phone out and goes, "Oh, I'm going to take a video," and they see that no one else is doing it, then it's "Oh, I think I'll just put my phone down." No one else is doing it.
Totally.
I think it might be a little bit, perhaps a bit too harsh to ban them. Encourage not using them, but in certain nightclubs, why shine spotlights all over the DJ? I don't want spotlights in my face. I mean, who wants to see this in a bright light? Do you know what I mean? Just stick me in the corner and just leave me alone for 4 hours, and I'll just play music.
Just enjoy
Just being there and listening to the music.
Yep. What are your goals? Okay, this one might be a bit of a curveball. What is your word of the year that will live for you by the year?
My word of the year.
Yeah.
This year.
How would you capture 2024 in a year, in a word?
In a word. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting year. There was so much going on, and this is like a combination personal and professional thing. There's as the kids getting older, sports clubs are basically going to taxi service, this year.
Oh yeah, dad cab.
Swim clubs, football clubs, and all these kind of the different stages of parenthood, and and obviously my oldest is coming up to GCSE, so that's all been thrown into the mix, and all the while working on new material, thinking about the business in terms of the publishing and the record labels and what our aspirations are moving forwards with those, working with new artists, new writers, and iCulture, obviously, sort of thinking about the radio show and where it's at, where it's going, the events. It felt like last year was a real sort of preparatory year for this year in a way, because the pandemic really sort of messed things up on so many levels.
Yep, especially for entertainment. Yeah.
And then everyone thought that it was going to be amazing and everyone was going to get back to normal life, in 2022 or whatever, which obviously didn't happen. And then we had cost of living crisis, interest rates, all the other stuff. And it all really kind of came to a head, I think, last year. I think it was one of those. I think everyone's just got, it's been very, very worrying for a lot of people. And I think that, you throw that into everything as well. It just felt it was an interesting year. I wasn't, to see the back of 2020. I don't wish, I don't ever think about the time past and think, oh God, I'm glad that's over with. But there was a definite sense of like, can we just get on with things now? Can we just get on?
Exactly.
So yeah, what my words for 2025 will be at the end of the year will be also interesting, but not interesting itself. It'll be a whole But we'll find out what that's going to be.
I'll come back to you at the end of the year and see what you got.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do that.
Nice. Shall we go back to best track of 2024 if you've got one? Yeah, or not?
Oh God, do you know what? I really don't have one. I've tried. I've been thinking about it, and I simply cannot pluck one particular record out.
It's hard. I get that. Yeah,
it is hard.
totally.
I listen to so much music, though. I mean, it's not just house. You know, my interests in music are across pretty much every genre you can imagine.
Cool.
And so it's very difficult to pick out stuff. You know, that one question alone would require some proper research, because there's not just one particular record that I go, oh yeah, that's that one record that I played all the time. That's the one.
Number one, Sabrina Carpenter. Sure, why not?
No, there are so many great records.
Yeah, I know. Rich, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, mate.
No, thank you very much for having me.
And yeah, we'll keep in touch and hopefully get some more of your tunes out on the podcast this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so there's going to be plenty of them. I can't say that all 97 will be released this year, but there will be, there'll be a fair few. Luckily, not all under the same name, so it's I won't be kind of annoying everybody with like full-on Earnshaw saturation.
That one playlist of just Earnshaw everywhere. Can't wait.
Yeah, exactly. No, we don't need that. Everything in moderation.
Nice one. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks very much, Simon.